German Taurus can be supplied under conditions and under the new chancellor, possibly. The United States is ready for talks with Russia, China and North Korea to reduce the nuclear threat. And the third topic, while North Korea is ready to join Russian army and send its troops to Ukraine, that and more we discuss with Ivan Stupak, military expert, former officer of the Security Service of Ukraine. Good afternoon. These topics in more detail in our daily episodes with me, Henry Keane, and my team at UATV English, doing our best to bring the hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. Despite providing extensive military aid to Kiev, German Chancellor Olaf Scholtz has been adamant in his position not to approve the supply of the Taurus missiles, citing a fear of escalation. I guess Olaf Scholz and other fearers of escalation have to come over to Ukraine and just talk to families who lost their children in a Russian missile attack and tell them that it was okay for their children to die because they saved everyone from escalation. And Olaf Scholz prefers a reasonable amount of Ukrainian children to die instead of German Tauruses hitting Russian military air bases and save children in Ukraine because that might piss off Russian dictator Putin. And then an escalation will follow. So sorry, Ukrainian parents. Your children, real lives lost, seem to be worth less than hypothetical irrational fears. Well, what can I say? I'm glad that Herr Scholz and other fearers are not commanding the Ukrainian army, because the attitude of fearing further escalation while having all the means to win, this is exactly how wars are lost. And it is a great relief to hear someone like Friedrich Merz, an opposition candidate for the German chancellor, who recently said he is open to supply Taurus' long-range missiles to Ukraine under some conditions. I quote, "I wouldn't do it just like that," Merz said on the ARD channel. So how would you do it then, Herr Merz?
At first, there should be an appeal to Russian President Vladimir Putin to stop attacking civilian targets in Ukraine. If Moscow does not concede, Ukraine should be free to use already delivered weapons without restrictions, and the second step would be to supply the Taurus missiles. Then it is up to Russian President Vladimir Putin to decide how far he wants to escalate this war. Friedrich Merz, German opposition leader.
Well, sounds like a plan to me. And also Friedrich Merz is the parliamentary leader and chancellor candidate of the centre-right CDU-CSU, which is leading the polls 1 year before the federal parliamentary elections. All that makes him currently the most likely candidate to unseat Social Democrat escalation-timid Mr. Scholz. Taurus is a joint German-Swedish cruise missile with a range of over 500 kilometers, that is 310 miles. It boasts a longer reach than missile that Ukraine has received from other partners, such as the British-French-made Scalp, Storm Shadow and American ATACMS just as well. So Merz also criticized the ruling coalition for allowing Moscow to know all the details of its strategy by discussing its steps publicly. The opposition leader added that the decision on the Taurus supply should be made at the European level and that European countries should become less dependent on the US regarding support for Ukraine. While Ukraine has deployed Western long-range arms for strikes against Russian military targets within Ukrainian territory, of course, Kiev's partners have not yet permitted their use on Russian soil. Washington and Berlin have permitted the use of certain German and American weaponry just across the Russian border to disrupt Russia's offensive operations. Scholz has been under prolonged pressure from his opponents in the parliament and, reportedly, even coalition partners to green-light the supply of Taurus missiles. But Mr. Timid is blind to any reasons of logic and necessity and prefers fears of escalation. And that is exactly what dictator Putin needs. The US is ready for talks with Russia, China and North Korea to reduce the nuclear threat, says Joseph Biden. I wonder how that is going to happen after all. Zoom, Skype, meeting on the moon, where North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un arrives in his armored space train. Choo-choo! And most important, when was the last time someone managed to talk sense to dictators, autocrats and criminal thugs at power here on Earth? especially clearly showing them that Western openly fears any escalation. I mean, it is like to play blackjack with someone you know is a card sharper and you still provide him with a wild card before you even sat at the table. Washington is ready to engage in talks with Russia, China, and North Korea without preconditions to reduce the nuclear threat, US President Joe Biden said recently. The comments came after Russia adopted changes to its nuclear doctrine, lowering the threshold for its nuclear response. There is no benefit to nations or the world to forestall progress on reducing nuclear arsenals, Biden said. Reducing the nuclear threat is important not despite the dangers of today's world, but precisely because of them. End of quote. And what if there is sense? And the benefit of Russian nuclear threat is Russian nuclear threat as such. After all, Russian dictator Putin has repeatedly made nuclear threats against Ukraine and the West since the beginning of the full-scale invasion in February 2022. All these threats have failed to materialize, and Russia continues to wage its all-out war without using its nuclear arsenal. But there is no need to use it, as fear is working. Even being non-tangible, Russian nuclear threats are working. West is backing. In late September, dictator Putin expanded the scenarios that could trigger a Russian nuclear response, including reliable intelligence of a large-scale cross-border attack involving aircrafts, missiles, or drones. He also said that any attack on Russia backed by a nuclear power would be treated as a joint assault. That means, Putin says, oh wait, that concerns all the Western countries. The Kremlin claimed the move was a direct response to discussions in the US and UK about allowing Ukraine to strike deep into Russian territory with Western-supplied long-range conventional missiles. Well, in fact, what dictator Putin does is not just wants to destroy Ukraine as such, as an entity and sovereignty, and as a nation, but he wants a humiliation for the West. He wants a collective West to watch this destruction and happening before their own collective eyes, and do nothing about that. Moreover, dictators unite much faster than democratic leaders do. Well, such yourself, North Korea has become one of Russia's leading allies in its full-scale war against Ukraine, providing ammunition and missiles, and now, reportedly, sends troops to aid Russian forces. And you know what? Dictators are right. Kim Jong-un is right. Putin is right. And no, I am sane and I am serious. If the enemy and Western democracy is surely an enemy to any dictator, even the West prefers to keep its collective eyes wide shut on the fact. So, if obviously the Western democracy have no will to help in its full might the country that is spilling its blood for the human values the Western democracy turns out to only be preaching about and not actually defending them, even having no need to fight on its own and having such a military intermediary as us, Ukraine, well then, I'm sorry, a dictator is a dictator. He simply dictates his will upon those who lack such on their own. While North Korea is ready to join Russian army, reportedly, and send its troops to Ukraine, we discussed that with Ivan Stupak, military expert, former officer of the Security Service of Ukraine. Hello, Ivan.
Hello, hello. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too. Pleasure is all mine. So, first question. How likely you think this is going to happen, actually? Like North Korean troops in Ukraine, really?
Yeah, it could be. The possibility is pretty high, but right now we don't exactly know whether North Korean soldiers are already in Ukraine or it's just rumors. But according to the statement of the president of Ukraine, now North Korean soldiers are currently in Ukraine, but we don't know about exact numbers of these soldiers. We don't know about their occupation, who they are. They are just assault troopers, or maybe they are just some officers who are studying the warfare in Russia, warfare about drones, about electronic warfare systems, or maybe it's these soldiers from North Korea. They are supplying North Korea missiles, ballistic
Right,
missiles,
right.
Ukraine, and keeping maintenance of these ballistic missiles. So everything could be.
So the only thing that is clear, that nothing is clear. We don't know if North Korean soldiers are here, who they are, what they do, and we only like guess their combat potential. Is that right?
Is it right? You're totally right. But the one more thing we have to highlight that about 2 weeks ago, Ukrainian military intelligence stated that the aftermath of Ukrainian strike on deeply right position on occupied territories, we managed to destroy at least 20 North Korean officers on those territory. And about 1 week ago, South Korea Minister of Defense also stated, he confirmed that North Korea lost first their soldiers in Ukraine, but he stated that the number of casualties is not about 20 individuals, but only 6 individuals. But it doesn't matter. The first North Korean soldiers definitely died in Ukraine.
Wow. Well, what can I say? I mean, that's that much of a news. Tell me, Ivan, as an expert, is that an international crime? Is that a military crime or not for Russia?
Sorry. You mean?
I mean, the fact that Russia is in Ukraine is, of course, an international crime, a military crime as such. It's an invasion. Now, one invader, one dictator asks for more troops from another dictator. So, in terms of law, of international law, what is even that?
It's mercenaries. Okay,
Right.
it could be mercenary, but I think, okay, just imagine, in case of using North Korean soldiers on the Russian side, they will be totally involved into the Russian army. They will sign contracts and they will receive Russian flag patches on their shoulders. They will be also involved in Russian army units, so they will be the part of Russian army. I don't see any violation of any international laws or maybe declarations. It doesn't matter. So one dictator would like help to other dictator, but it's not free of charge. Putin will pay something for this support. This something could be the cash, the gold, the technologies, maybe combat jets, maybe some agricultural products, whatever.
And do you think that South Korea should be really worried about that exchange of whatever that is between North Korea and Russia?
Yeah, there right now is South Korea is in tension because we could see the latest news from South Korea, and we could see that North Korea is threatening the South Korea with. They would like to blow up several roads connecting both Koreas, and North Korea is continuing sending balloons loaded with garbage, with trash to the south part. So it's some kind of very cheap terrorism.
Very cheap terrorism. This is nicely put. So, what is the point of that? Is that of reconnaissance drones or balloons with just rubbish? With
rubbish, they're equipped
Right.
just with rubbish. No any reconnaissance equipment. No, totally at all. Just rubbish. Maybe this rubbish is the material for South Korean intelligence to analyze. I don't know, DNA of the people on this newspaper or this garbage, whatever.
All right. So, Ivan, what do you think? Let's speculate. Absolutely. If we don't know anything, well, we know that a certain amount of North Korean soldiers and troops has died on Ukrainian soil. That much we know. Let's speculate. What's next? Do you think more? There's gonna be more?
Look, on the beginning of 2024, we've also got rumors in Ukraine that about 10,000 of North Korean soldiers will be sent to occupied territories on the Donetsk region. But these soldiers could be from engineer troops. So they potentially could participate in some construction workers, some renovation, I don't know, whatever, building trenches or different other defense equipment. We don't know, but it was just rumors, no exact facts about sending these troops.
But do we know how good are these fighters from North Korea? When was the last time they actually fought on the battlefield, the real battles?
It was about 70 years ago, during the last and the only one Korean War. So there is no exact military experience on North Korean side. So I don't believe that North Korean soldiers are very experienced, trained, motivated. But the only one advantage of North Korea could be the number of soldiers.
I actually can't really imagine, it just blows my mind. It's mind-boggling to see the North Korean soldiers fighting in Russia, occupying Ukrainian land. It's, it sounds like, a scrape from cheap, not Hollywood movie, but this is actually what is going on now. But after Ukraine's victory, what is going to happen in North Korea then? Because this is obviously, then North Korea also is going to be held accountable for what it is doing or not. I mean, it's dictatorship and it's closed and nothing is going to happen because it's easy to be a dictator. It's clearly shown. It's easy. You don't have to follow the rules. So do you think that any accountability for North Korea for that?
You're asking about what we Ukrainians could do with North Korea, or I mean, United Nations or United States could do to deal with North Korea regime. From right now, from this point, I even cannot suggest you any solution what society could do, in which way to affect on North Korea. Maybe the only one way, I just realizing, is to break those informational wall against North Korea. Maybe to support North Korean people with actual information, but on the same way, it's currently not possible at all.
Right. But I know you're just hinting on that, and I also was thinking about that. Do you think that this could be the start of the end of North Korea? Like it's going to be a crack, and something is going to like freedom from within, or something, a revolution? Do you believe in this?
No, I totally don't believe in this way of acting, because North Korean regime of Kim Jong-un and the idea of Chuchhe is pretty solid, and there is no possibility to crack this regime right now.
Well, Ivan, there is a lot of questions, but we obviously lack in information. Let's wait and see how the things are going to develop, and then we can talk about that more. But thank you so very much for your time and for your expertise.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye. Ivan Stupak was with us, military expert, former officer of the Security Service of Ukraine. For now, I'm forced to say my goodbyes. Thank you so very much for your time. We appreciate that a lot indeed. It was Henry Keane in UATV English. We did our best to deliver the hard truth in easy terms for you out there, for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. Please like, subscribe, and comment in return. Your voice matters, as it helps Ukrainian voice to be heard worldwide. So stay safe and tuned for more tomorrow at UATV English. We talk.